hopefully we're live soon. Cool. Right. We should be live. We should be live. So let's just check a few things just to make sure we are. Perfect. Yeah, there we are. We are live. Cool. Right. Well, I'll just give it a few minutes just to let people come on in. Then we'll get cracking, get started. Right, let's just make sure we post real quick. Tweet that. Refresh over here. Right. Fingers crossed, get a few people in. Right. Okay. Right, well, we'll make a start in a second. Just wanted to make sure everybody's getting in all right and everyone can hear me okay. See who's here, and then we'll sort of go from there, really. Try and get cracking. Cool, lovely. How do I get on? Right, let me just. Right, just tell people how to get on. Cool, or not. Oh, that's not good. Oh, I thought I closed that. 2 seconds, let me just phone off. Close the phone system. There we go. Otherwise we'll get some calls. Afternoon, Ian. Welcome back again. Good to see you again. Right, let's just give it a couple more minutes just to make sure we're in one more in. Hello Rob, welcome back. Good afternoon on this glorious sunny day. It's very nice out there today. So which is quite good. Hello Tarina, welcome to the webinar. So, perfect, okay. Hello Sarah, welcome again. Right. Okay, well there's a few people in there, so let's, I guess we'll get cracking and people can join in once they're in here. Fingers crossed, let me just double check that our employees got in there. Yeah, cool, right, they're in now, perfect. They can quite get in themselves. Hello Nigel, welcome again. Right, okay, so once again, thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're doing another business support webinar, our second one. So, pretty similar to the last one, same sort of setup. We're just going to go through some stuff. Since the last one, there's been quite a few updates of how stuff happens and what you need to do, and some more advice we can give you. So that's what we're going to go through today. So the purpose, again, so just to help you guys out, give you some updates. Some stuff I am going to be touching again that we did go through last time, but it's just because there's been updates, as I say, on that. So it's sort of similar in so many bits, so I'll rush across the bits I've already gone through. Frequency, so we spoke about this last time about the potential of a weekly webinar, but what we looked at and we thought about is that we'll go for every 2 weeks. So hence, this is why this one here, so the last one was 2 weeks ago. So we will try and continue to keep doing these every 2 weeks and to keep you guys updated. Even if there's nothing too much going on, maybe we'll jump on and just sort of have a quick Q&A to see if there's anything anybody wants to go through, so it's a bit shorter than last time. So today's agenda, as I said, it's quite similar to last time. We're going to go through the government funding, but just to split it down a bit more, as I said, because we know a bit more about that. Different funding options. I'm going to go through more about the coronavirus business interruption loan and the other options there is, because I now know more about that, because I've spoken to a few loan companies, so we can go through some stuff like that. Scams, I did touch on this last time. We're going to look at that again, because more and more every day there's even more scams, unfortunately, so we'll look at that. Support from us, just go through what we're doing for you, and then some questions. So, moving on swiftly, government grants. So what is there? As you all know, there is the coronavirus job retention scheme, so the 80% wages grant, small business grant, £10,000 grant from your local authority if you're eligible, which we'll go through in a minute. Cash grant for retail, hospitality and leisure, the £25,000 from your local authority, again if you're eligible. SSP Rebate, And then the self-employment income support scheme, which again we do know a bit more about that, so we can go through all of that. So they're the current grants that are available from the government, so which is quite good actually. So we're still trying to, and actually as of yesterday they have announced more, which doesn't apply to many people of our client base anyway, but there's the £750 million they've put out there for charities, and that's not on my slides because I wasn't going to talk about it today, but that is also there if you know any charities that might be suffering, so you can talk to them. Okay, coronavirus job retention scheme then. So what is this quickly again, and how are you applying all this? So it's the 80% wages grant, that's what a lot of people have been calling it. Basically is where you can claim 80% of the wages for your employees who you have furloughed. So furloughed employees, what are they, how do they work, and what's going on with them? Basically, you have an agreement in place with your employee, and then they can no longer work for you, but they're still on your payroll, and that's how you can claim this 80% back. With furloughed employees, they have to be furloughed for a minimum of 3 weeks. After that, they can come back and work for you, and they also can be furloughed again. So there was some speculation that you can only furlough employees once, but that's not true. Furloughed for 3 weeks, they can come do some work, you can then furlough again, and they'll be eligible for the whole time this scheme is going to be open, which currently is 3 months, but may well be extended depending on the situation. So that's how that bit there works. Also with the furloughed, if you furloughed somebody and then you bring them into work before the 3 weeks is up, they are no longer eligible for the wages grant, because as I said, the minimum of 3 weeks, so you'd have to pay them normally for those, say potentially 2 weeks that they haven't worked. But obviously that's a discussion that you'd have with them, so ideally make sure you keep them off for 3 weeks as a minimum so you can actually claim this grant. Directors eligibility, the last time we had this webinar we didn't really know but now we do, which is really good. So the government released more information about this. They've now said directors are eligible for the coronavirus job retention scheme for money they receive through payroll, so it has to be payroll. So I put an email out to a lot of you, I think it was last week sometime, about the 719. If you're on that, you're eligible for 80% of that, or if you're on the higher one, 80% of that one. But with the directors, what I've been trying to say to people is, weigh up your options, because you're only going to potentially get around £500 a month from this scheme. So if you can build rapport with your customers, your clients, and keep potentially a little bit of income through, or build on your business for the future, or anything like that, then if you can afford it, I really highly recommend trying to do that and not furloughing yourself. Because if you furlough yourself, you can only do your director's duties, so like your company accounts, payroll approvals, all that sort of stuff. You can't actually do any work that will create any kind of income now or in the future for your company. Which might sound a bit harsh, but I can sort of see why I've done it. I still let you do the other stuff which you have to do, which is good, but that's what I do really recommend, is if you can continue, then please do that. But obviously you can talk to us, we can chat that with you, and everything else with the directors. Make sure you get those agreements in place, and you need to write down some minutes about why you took that decision for the directors to be furloughed, because that could affect the business in the future if you are furloughed. Obviously you can come back, but it's a minimum of 3 weeks. So after 3 weeks, if you think, cool, I'm going to come back for a week, do some work, by all means do that work and go back for 3 weeks, as long as it's a minimum of that 3 weeks. Working elsewhere. So whilst so obviously at the moment there's a lot of shops, supermarkets, all that are employing on short-term basis, because they're obviously quite overrun currently. So what has been released about that now is employees who have been furloughed can work elsewhere, and you can still claim this job retention scheme, but it's subject to your employment contracts with your employees. So if you're, obviously you probably don't want them going to work for a competitor, but if they're just going to go work in a supermarket, then you may allow that. But that's a discussion you can have with your employees. Obviously you do need to bear in mind that if you then decide after that 3 weeks you want to bring them back, they need to know that, so they need to be able to still come back and work for you if needs be. I don't know what kind of contracts supermarkets and all the like are offering, so that is something you'd have to look into or ask them to look into. but they can work elsewhere and you can still claim this job retention scheme for them. It's the same with volunteering, so obviously there's thousands and thousands of people who've signed up to volunteer currently, so that will not affect this scheme if they do any of that kind of stuff. Commission payments. Right, so initially the government stated that commission payments were not going to be included, commissions, bonuses, or any of that kind of stuff, but basically they've sort of taken a U-turn on that, and certain types of commission payments will be included, so it's contractual ones that are regular, so not say commission due say on sales, that kind of stuff won't be covered in this because that's like it's not like a main thing, if that makes sense. Give me 2 seconds, I'll find the exact word on that one in a minute, but that's sort of how that one's going to work out. But before they just said no, but now they have said yes. So what they're saying is you can claim for any regular payments you are obliged to pay your employees. This includes wages, past overtime fees, and compulsory commission payments. That was the one. It was compulsory. That's the word I was missing. So, however, discretionary bonuses, including tips and commission payments, and non-cash payments should be excluded. So, if it's a compulsory commission, then that's fine. That can be included into the calculation. If not, it cannot be. But double check with us. We can advise you on that, and we can go from there. Minimum wage, I want to touch quick on this one. If your employees are on the minimum wage and you are only going to pay them 80%, it takes them under the minimum wage, that is okay on this scheme. Because they're not working, they are fine to be under the minimum wage unless they take training, and then obviously have to be paid minimum wage. You do need to still take into account the minimum wage has gone up now this year, so you still need to do that uplift. But obviously they'll still be under the minimum wage because you'll still be paying them 80%, but that is absolutely fine. Okay. How to claim. Right, so I sent out an email this morning, which fingers crossed you all got. How to claim. There's going to be a portal that HMRC are going to be opening, which we have mentioned quite a few times. And we've seen now, which I put in my email earlier, they've put that employers need to have access to a government gateway. So we've always said we're going to do the claim for you, which we're still hoping to do. We really do hope we can, but there's a possibility that agents won't be given access to this portal, and it's going to be employer side only. Hence why we've emailed and said check if you haven't got one, set that one up as soon as you can with that government gateway. If you'll need your PAYE reference and office reference, email payroll@reevesandco.co.uk and we'll be able to send that over to you. But currently that's what's happening. You're going to have to claim yourselves. There's reports that the portal will be open on the 20th of April, so a bit sooner than what we thought, which is really good. So we're going to keep an eye out for that one, and fingers crossed it will be open as soon as. When you go to do a claim, we'll help you with the calculations. If we're doing payroll, then the calculations are already going to be shown on your pay slips because we're splitting out the wages. Thanks to Kim, it was her glorious idea, which I wasn't on board with at first, but she brought me around. So it's fully split out on there, so it actually shows what you will need to be claiming. So it's nice and simple, but we will obviously help. If we can't do the claim, we will help as much as we can. But when you do that claim, you're going to be needing your employees, NI numbers, payments, and all this sort of stuff. But again, we can get all that across to you and help you out when that is. The tax treatment of the grant. So all grants that the government are giving out are taxable. You don't have to pay them back, but they are subject to income tax or corporation tax dependent on what you are. So if you're a limited company, this will be classed as income and you'll pay corporation tax on it. If you're self-employed running a payroll scheme, it will be subject just to standard income tax. Okay, because obviously you can still claim your payroll expenses against this money coming in. So there's no reason why it shouldn't be. So, but you don't need to pay the grants back. That's the big thing about them. Okay, small business grants. So the small business grants I emailed out, I think it was last week, because pretty much all local authorities have opened up an online portal for you to be able to claim. Not many of them have actually sent out letters, which was what the initial thought was. I know we haven't received one. A few councils have. I believe Chichester sent some out. Weirdly enough, I know Ipswich Council sent them out. know it's not quite close to us, but I do know that one. But Portsmouth, we didn't receive one unless it come later than when we've checked the post. But I sent out an email with the local authorities, but if you haven't done it yet and you think you are eligible, then make sure you go on their website to put a claim in. So it's the £10,000. So you're eligible for this grant if you receive small business rate relief on your business rates for your business premises, or if you have a personal premises that you have registered for business rates on and you get small business relief, then you can then actually claim as well. But it all comes down to that small business rate relief. If you don't get small business rate relief, you may be eligible for the other grant, but you probably aren't eligible for this grant. Also, your rateable value needs to be no higher than £15,000. But if you receive the small business relief, then you're most likely under that anyway. So that's the eligibility of this one. As I say, applications are open. Portsmouth City Council was really, really easy. It was the simplest thing I think I've ever had to do with Portsmouth City Council, so well done for them on this point. Nice and easy, name, address. If you've got it, your account number, you didn't have to have it because you could still submit it. And then just your bank details basically, and then you click submit. I spoke to them on Monday just because I was getting asked by a few clients, so I thought I'd give them a call. They're actually really helpful. So they said they are hoping to be paying out their grants within the next 2 weeks. And that was Monday. So hopefully they stick by that, and by the end of next week, people will be receiving grants. I'm assuming that's going to be similar for most local authorities. So fingers crossed that is it. So it's probably going to be 2 weeks from application date that you'll get your money. But don't hold me to that, that's just what they told me on the phone. And then again, tax treatment of this grant is just going to be subject to corporation tax or income tax, depending on what you are. So that's pretty much everything with that one. The cash grant for retail, hospitality and leisure, very similar to the small business grant. This is just for those sectors there. This was £25,000 because at the time they've been hit the hardest. So with this one, again, you go on the website, put in an application, and you go from there. Eligibility on this one, you have to be in those sectors for starters, and then your rateable value is above £15,000. So you can, I believe it's up to 50 on this one. So again, it's quite similar to that one. We haven't got tons of clients that fall into this category, but if you do fall into this category and you're not quite sure, just drop us an email or ask at the end, and then we can go from there. But again, tax treatment of the grant, same as the other ones, is subject to income tax / corporation tax. Okay, moving on swiftly. So SSP rebates, eligibility. So this one, again, as we've said before, is about the SSP 2 weeks sick leave for COVID-19, which we have been able to run through our payroll, and our payroll provider has actually been able to, our software provider has actually amended the payroll now, so it actually properly starts from day one. So it ignores the 3 days, which is good. So again, this one is for anybody that is self-isolating with coronavirus symptoms or COVID-19 symptoms. They can claim those first 2 weeks SSP, which you then obviously can claim back from the government. The SSP rebate is only for sick leave for COVID-19 and not just normal sick pay. So if someone's off with a broken leg, unfortunately you can't claim that back. With this one, again, how to claim, we are waiting for another portal to come up. So as soon as that portal is available, which it shouldn't hopefully be much longer, because this was one of the first things they brought into force. So hopefully it'll be open soon, and again, it's probably going to be similar to the coronavirus job retention scheme, where we just put in a claim and then we can have that claim all back for you. I had some questions now about after the SSP is finished. So after those 2 weeks, obviously you're not getting any money back from the SSP rebate. So what can you do with that client? So of that employee. So there's a few different things you can do. If they're still sick, then they can go on to normal sick pay, and you can pay them £94.25 a week. Or you can then furlough them. So if you are furloughing other staff anyway, you can then furlough this member of staff, and then they can be paid their normal wage. Then you can claim that 80% back, and then you'll either top up that 20% or you don't. It's entirely up to you. But that is something that you can do with somebody that has been on SSP. So I hope that answers quite a few questions there. So it's it's pretty easy, but if you get confused or anything like that one, just drop us an email. We can help you out with that one. It's nice and easy. Okay, moving on to the next one. Self-employed income support scheme. So when we last spoke about this, there was a few little bits that needed to be worked out, and whether directors would be included, whether directors wouldn't be included, or anything like that. So obviously now directors are definitely not included in this scheme, unfortunately. They are all going to be included under the Coronavirus Job Retention Scheme. Okay, so this scheme then, this is for self-employed. Anyone can be self-employed, but so the way it works is you can claim 80% of your net profit from trading income. So there's quite a few keywords in that. So it's a net profit and it's the trading income. So net profit obviously is your income less your sales. No, your income less your expenses, not your sales. And that'll give you net profits. That's what the figure is based on. But it also has to be from trading income. So, for example, rental income isn't classed as trading income. Dividends is not classed as trading income. Trading income is standard income. Say you've got a construction worker, he's going out working, buying bricks, blah blah. That's trading income, or any other kind of stuff. Training companies, they're going out training people. That's trading income. So that's how that was worked. And also with that one, it's 50. You have to have 50% or more of your self-employment income has to be from trading income. There's a lot of incomes in that. So if you have rental income and you have trading income, if you have, I don't know, £20,000 worth of rental income, but only £10,000 of trading income, you will not be eligible for this scheme, because less than 50% is from trading income. If it was flipped the other way, then you're eligible for this scheme. Okay, how it's worked out, as I said, it's 80% of your net profits over the last 3 tax years, including the 2018-2019 tax return that was filed last year. So part of this one is you have to have submitted a 2018-2019 tax return. If you haven't submitted one of them, unfortunately you're not eligible. If you haven't submitted one of them, but you should have submitted one of them, now is the ideal time to get it done, because we have, I believe, until the 20th of April, around that sort of mark, to submit tax returns, because the government have said we're going to give you this time. If you haven't done it, submit it now and we'll still include you. If you submit it after that time, you won't be included. Okay, so the way then, where did we get to? The way it was worked out, so yeah, so your trading profits is taken from the last 3 years. So say if you've had 10 grand each year for the last 3 years, you take that 30 grand, divide it over the 3, and you get 10 grand, and then you'll get 80% of that 10 grand. If you made a loss of 10 grand 1 year, then your average would be 20, and so on and so on. So that is just how it's worked out there. It's all on those averages. If you've been in self-employment less than 3 years, then it'll be based on how many years you've been in self-employment. So if you've only done the 2018-19 tax return, it will just be based on that. If you have trading profits of more than £50,000, however, you will not be eligible either. So you have to have profits under that to be eligible for this scheme. So majority of our clients are going to fall into these categories, and they're going to be fine. They're going to be eligible for this. How to claim? I've been asked a lot at the moment how you can claim this. This isn't a scheme or a grant that you can claim. So the way this one's going to work is HMRC, once they've had all these other tax returns in over the next few weeks, and they then compile all the data and build a new portal, they are then going to contact you directly. Do not try and contact HMRC, because they will most of them just hang up on you, or they won't answer because they're very busy. So basically they will contact you in June. So that currently that is the date we've got, is June 2020. They will contact you direct, and they will tell you if you are eligible or not for this scheme. And then they will also tell you what they think you are owed on this scheme. Okay, so they hold a lot of data on you, obviously, because we submit tax returns to them. So they know exactly what's in your tax returns, so they can easily work out what they need to pay you. It will be backdated for 3 months in June, so it's going to be backdated to March. So depending on when they pay in June, they might, I don't know how they're going to work it, if they're going to just pay at the start of June and pay April, May, or March, April, May sort of time, or if they're going to include June, or how they're going to work it, but that's what they're looking at. As soon as we know when they're going to start contacting people, we will obviously let you all know and go from there. But the main thing is you cannot do anything, unfortunately, and we cannot do anything until June. Unfortunately, there's just not a lot more I can say on the claim side, but HMRC will contact you. If they don't contact you when we've said they're contacting people, that's then when we can contact HMRC, or we'll look at your specific case and be like, okay, right, I think they might not have contacted you because of A and B, or they should contact you. Again, though, tax treatment, it's subject to income tax. So this will be shown on your 2020-2021 tax return. Okay, so it will just be standard income shown to you because it will be paid to a UK bank account. Okay, quickly have a quick drink before we move on to funding options. Oh, right. Okay, funding options. I did mention this last time as well, but I've actually got a bit more insight on this now because I'm currently doing one. I'm actually doing an application for one of our clients. There's a lot to go through. I don't know if you've heard much in the news about how these are working and all of that, but there's a lot to go through with it. So the different funding options. So we've got the Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan Scheme, which is a government-backed scheme. They're backing up to 80%. There's still standard loans from lenders, and I'll go through the other bits in a moment. But we'll start with the Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan Scheme. So most banks are offering a minimum of £25,000 loan, which is a lot of money. So with this, I've been trying to advise clients to avoid this scheme if they can, because that could put you in a lot of debt, and then, well, not debt, but you'd have to, that'd be quite big payments you're going to have to start making each month for however many years, which if we can avoid, obviously that would be the idealist of ways. So, but with this scheme, so we can do these applications for you or on your behalf or with you, but most of them, if you have to go with this scheme, you have to go to your bank that you bank with. So say if you bank with NatWest, you have to go to NatWest to get to get the loan. You cannot go to Lloyds or Santander to try and get this loan. They'll just reject you instantly. They're doing that because it will make this the process quicker, because they already hold data on you and they already know what your credit is like and all that sort of stuff. We're using a company called Capitalise. With this company, they have access to all different funding providers. So we're contacting them and they're going out to the banks for us because they've got a sort of a leg in already. So they can help sort all that for us, depending on the bank. And each bank wants different stuff, which is the other thing. Some of them want you to fill in a form and then you can send that. Some of them want other stuff they don't need as much. It all depends on what your specific bank wants. But I've got a list of what other banks want, and so, but I can look at that with you at the time. So if you want to look at that, we can look at it for you, because obviously they're interest free. But I had quite a good conversation with my contact at Capitalise, and they were sort of going through with what's what with me. If you do ask us to do a loan and we use Capitalise, we will run 2 loan applications parallel, if possible. So with the standard loans from lenders, so potentially you can still get a standard loan from a normal lender cheaper, even though you're getting interest free for a year, it could still be cheaper somewhere else. That's why with them they're running the 2 loan applications parallel, so then we can literally side by side compare them, and then we can see actually you are going to be better off on this one, or you're going to be better off on this one, or if this one says no but this one says yes, perfect, we've already got this one then, or vice versa. So that's why I'm using them, because they know everything about loans, they can do all that. So it's really quite good, which brings on obviously the cost of borrowing. It depends. I've seen some news on some of the groups I'm with, someone's been they got a 250 grand loan from the Corona's business interruption scheme, and the interest rate they got was 3.5%, which I didn't think was terrible. I know obviously the banking rate currently is actually really low, but for that it was quite good. And if you get a loan up to £250,000 now on the coronavirus business interruption loan scheme, you do not need a personal guarantee anymore, which is really good on the standard loans and everything you do. And prior to this, they were trying to get personal guarantees for the full 100%, even though the government were backing up to 80%. So now, if you only want 250k, it should be even easier to get. Obviously, loans aren't easy to get, and depending on the business bank, depends on what you need to provide. As I said, some of them want absolutely tons of stuff, and they want cash flow forecasts, management accounts up to the day, past 3 years accounts, like 12 months bank statements, this and that, all sorts of information. Obviously, we can help with this depending on your bank. We'll go through that with you, but that's how that one's sort of working. The other funding option I wanted to touch on was universal credit. Don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert on universal credit, unfortunately, because to be honest, it's quite confusing. It does confuse me a little bit, and I am looking at it at the moment, and I've asked Kim as well. She's having a look with me. So there was some questions with the self-employed income support scheme and universal credit. Because the self-employed income support scheme won't be paid out until June, what can self-employed do now? So you can apply for universal credit. Go and confirm that, and it's on their web pages. You can get that universal credit. You can apply for that if you are eligible. If you go onto the universal credit website, and if you just go for the application, fill in all the details, and I believe it then just tells you then or there if you are eligible for this scheme or not. I know they've lowered a few things and they've made it easier. It should be able, I believe it's 2 weeks or so, to get on the scheme and go from there. But it's based on your monthly income, I believe. So right now, if you've got no income, then you can claim so much universal credit. In June, when you get that lump sum from the government, then they should then decide then and there that you probably then can't get any more universal credit. So you shouldn't be penalised, is what I'm trying to say, for claiming universal credit now and then the self-employed income support scheme in June, because the government are suggesting that's what you do. So get on that website. I don't know if anyone can put the website in the chat for us, but it's really like simple. What I saw, just to hit apply, go through it and see what's going on. So, but if you need to, start claiming on that one. Okay. Lovely. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about on funding options. So scams. Yes, Kim. I forgot to mention about that. I was going to mention about that. So Kim said to me the other day, as I said, she was looking at it as well. She's just put a website in the chat. She showed me this website. It looks really good. Basically, it's a website where you can go on and you can check what you could actually be entitled to before you do the application. So thanks for putting that in there, Kim. So basically, go on there. You can fill in a few details, and then it just says what you could get, if anything. So if you're thinking, oh, I don't know, go on there. It's not an application. It's literally just, what can I do? What can I get, sort of thing. So check out that link that she's just posted down there. Scams. What I said earlier, there's a lot of scams going around. I mentioned last time text messages from the government. They've still only sent out one, and they haven't sent out any emails. Be wary of links and everything else, because there's loads and loads and loads going around. People are being sent emails. So we've heard of one that's been from a bank. They've said they've sent out an email which is and said this is where you can claim back your, I think it was the job retention scheme. This is the link to claim. It's not open yet. You can't claim. Be careful of all these kind of things. There's loads of them going out. If you are thinking at all, just make sure, ask us, and we can tell you if not, or just keep an eye out for our emails, because as soon as something's happening, I'm trying to absolutely get those emails out to you as soon as possible. So if you haven't heard from us and you get a link saying the portal's open, it's most likely going to be a scam. And there has also been text messages and stuff going around saying HMRC are due to the coronavirus, HMRC are giving you 200 and something pounds, and they're not. They're absolutely not just giving you £200. They never would. So just be wary of what you click on, and if there's any links that start asking you about bank details, don't give them to them. They're don't do it. So until you get onto a .gov website, that's where it's going to be secure. Letters, I've not heard tons about letters. There's a little bit. Some letters have been sent out to people saying, again, this is what's going on, blah blah blah. We can sort of go from there. Okay, so just be wary is what I'm trying to say. Please be wary of scams, because I don't want any of our clients getting stung with any scams at all. Okay, right. Next one then, support from us. Said this last time. What are we doing for you? Weekly Zoom calls. If you want a weekly Zoom call, I can start putting in some 15-minute slots here and there. I'm trying to figure out the best way that we're going to be sort of putting them in. But we do have a booking form on our website, but I'm going to add a link in that somehow so you can actually book a 15-minute slot call with me. Same with one-to-one phone calls. You can just phone up. Majority of the time you should be able to get through to me, but at the moment I am going to be on the phone a lot. I'll be completely honest. So there's a lot to go on there, but I can have one-to-one phone calls, and I am trying to contact as many clients as I can all the time. Regular email updates as well. I'm sure you might have had enough of me by now, but I am trying to email out as much as I can. They're not quite daily anymore because not as many new stuff is happening, so there's not as much to tell you about. And also our website, check it out. There's a coronavirus page on there which I'm trying to keep up to date, and then just everything that I feel that you need to know should be on that website. So we'll sort of just go from there really, but that's what we're trying to do, trying to keep you updated, trying to help you as best as we can. We're starting to do some YouTube stuff as well, so this is on YouTube. We're doing some other bits and bobs. So for example, a lot of our clients now are taking up Receipt Bank, so we thought, okay, getting quite a few questions on it now. How does it work? What do I do? So yesterday we made a little YouTube video, which you can probably see in a minute, on basically just how to use the phone app and how to submit. It's really easy. So it's like a 2-minute video, I think. Just look on that. We're also going to be starting up a podcast, a video podcast, which we're going to be getting involved in after this. We're going to film like a little 15-minute slot where there's just going to be a few of us in a call. We're just going to be chatting, going through some bits and bobs. Just going to upload it to our YouTube, which you can just have a watch. There'll be some quite interesting snippets in there, hopefully. And then each week we're going to be choosing a few different topics just to talk about. Say, for example, one week could be job retention scheme. We're going to talk about that, just bounce off each other, whoever's in that call at the time, and just, sort of go from there. So that's sort of what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep everybody up to date, everybody's spirits high. So just, as I said before last week, don't put those blinkers on, look forwards, and we can go from there. We can get it. We will all survive this. It will be fine. Okay. So moving on then. Does anybody have any questions or answers? I did see one from Ian, but I think Kim's answered that one. So now is your chance. I'll give it a few minutes. If anybody's got any questions, please ask me. As I said, I'll try my hardest to answer them. But if I don't know the answer, I will go away and I'll get you that answer. But if you don't have any questions, that's fine. I'm planning on doing this in 2 weeks' time. Another webinar with different topics, hopefully with some more info, what the latest is from the government for businesses and self-employed. Next Friday, however, we do have another webinar booked in already. It is going to be at 11:30, I believe, on Friday, and it's in conjunction with QuickBooks. They're going to be doing a webinar with me. There's going to be me and a guy called Mike, who's our account manager at QuickBooks, and we're going to be doing a webinar specifically for the self-employed next week. So if you're self-employed, or if you know anyone that's self-employed, I'm going to be sending out some details about that. These are free. I'm not charging. Anybody can sign up, or if on YouTube, anyone can just look at it. So if you know anybody that might think, actually that'd be useful, get them involved, get them there. So we're just going to be talking about what support there is next week, how to help people out, and also about QuickBooks, we're going to give you a demo on the self-employed side, because there is actually a self-employed QuickBooks which we're going to open up to people and see what people's thoughts are. Okay. Right, so it doesn't look like there's any more questions. So all there is left for me to say is have a great holiday, Easter weekend, because obviously we've got a 4-day weekend now. Stay safe, stay indoors where you can, and thank you again for joining. So I'll speak to you all and I'll see you all soon, hopefully. Cheers then.